What's going on, everyone? Welcome into a special edition of the little Ryan Ripken Show. Happy Tuesday. With so much going on and it's playoff week, so we said, you know what, screw it. Let's try to get as much content as we can get in this week. So we had our show yesterday. We have another one tomorrow night with our regularly scheduled happy hour hot stove. So that'll be all of our baseball news. And then Thursday, we're right back at it. And then, hey, we're at the weekend. And then playoff football, second round of the playoff football. So I can't wait. So I appreciate you guys jumping in. And it's going to be a little bit of a hectic day, at least for me, but I'm excited. Why? Because tonight over at Columbia Mall, M&T Bank, come and enjoy the All for the Flock playoff rally for the Ravens. And look, calling all Ravens fans, it's time to shake your tail feather and get on over there. M&T Bank, get there right at 5 to 6 p.m. is the event. And it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of different ways for giveaways, chances to win. Torrey Smith's going to join, and we're going to have a Q&A at the event there. It's just going to be a lot of fun. So hope to see you all there. Enjoy live music, the guest appearances is what I just talked about, giveaways and fun for the whole family alongside your host. Yours truly will be there. And if you want more details, check out MTB_Ravens on Instagram. And again, it's brought to you by our friends over at M&T Bank, the official bank of your Baltimore Ravens. Giveaways while supplies last. Member FDIC. So, it is crazy. I saw a comment here, Rick. It's nuts that football season is almost over in general. But this is the exciting time because this is what every team has been waiting for the entire season to get to this point. All Ravens fans have been waiting for this opportunity to try to see if Baltimore can once again advance to the AFC Championship game and get to the Super Bowl place that they haven't been in 12 years. And I guess if you're a Ravens fan, you're a little bit superstitious, or as a baseball player, you guys know me, I'm a little bit superstitious. And in this case, though, there's some similarities that the Ravens have won Super Bowls every 12 years. So they won in 2000, won in 2012, and then right now it's the year 2024. And then if you want to get a little bit more superstitious, or maybe big coincidence, the ages of the quarterbacks. So Lamar Jackson is 28 years old right now. And there is a line of what the other quarterbacks in Baltimore have been when they have won their Super Bowl. So I'm excited about what we got in store here and what's happening. So let's just dive into this. Wild card weekend just wrapped up, and we're going to dive into a lot of kind of this Ravens, Bills here day by day. But I wanted to kind of touch on last night's game for just a moment here. Rams, Vikings moved to Arizona for the game because of the fires out in California. And again, thoughts and prayers for all the ones that have impacted and affected. You can see all the reactions that people have from that situation, and it's heartbreaking. It really is heartbreaking, and a lot of families and people have to start over. But last night, the Rams then were playing for a city. And for the second time this year, the Rams defeat the Vikings in really, this was, resounding fashion. There was no doubt. They went out there and whooped some butt. And what I love, though, is that Sean McVay talking about his team, because I think this is a good conversation for everything, talked about how they got to this point, because not everyone was thinking that the Rams were going to be a playoff team to start the year. They battled with a lot of injuries to lot of top guys, and here they are in the divisional round having a chance to continue their season. So let's listen to Sean McVay's comments after the win about the scars of a season.
All those scars were necessary to be able to get us to the point that we are today. Even some of the tough losses, being 1-4, I think there's a resilience, there's a grit, there's just, you get those, you learn from those challenging setbacks, and that's where real growth can occur if people take the right approach and you have the right kinds of people, and we certainly do. And
so you're hearing about that with scars and having the right type of growth. That's what the Rams went through. And honestly, look around at the entire NFL of where teams were when they started the season to where they are now. So for the Rams, that was the case. They were holding on for dear life when they lost some of their top guys. Puka Nakua being one, Cooper Kupp going down. And then they had that gritty win against San Francisco earlier. And here they are, found ways to win. And now they are one win away from going to the NFC Championship game. Now let's flip to the other side with the Ravens and the Bills. Early on, Ravens fans, you guys can all remember, 0-2 start to the season. Felt like the sky was falling. And two really kind of backbreaking losses for two different reasons. Chiefs opening night, lose by a toe. You kidding me, shirts and pants? But I mean, it was trying to get over that hump beating the Chiefs. And it's okay. Let's go back home, take care of business against a Raiders team you're supposed to beat. Have a big lead, and then you see that disappear, and the Raiders win that game. And you're sitting there going, man, what is happening? And then Baltimore gets going, and then including that blowout, that victory they had against Buffalo. And then they started to get going, had a little bit of a rough patch there. But then since that Eagles game, the boys have won 5 in a row and now are 1 win away from the AFC Championship game. On the flip side for Buffalo, Buffalo was a team that, since that loss to the Ravens, they've been one of the best in football, en route to beating the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions, the 2 number 1 seeds on both sides of the conference. And now they are matching up here in the divisional round in Buffalo, going to be cold. By far, to me, is the matchup of the divisional round for so many reasons. 2 great teams, organizations that play tough, and then on top of it, the 2 quarterbacks that one of them is going to be the MVP here when we find out the announcement before the Super Bowl. So it is going to be very, very interesting to see. I just love this time of year. I really do. I know it's sad that football ends, but it is fun to kind of talk about what can be. And only one fan base is going to be happy. And I know I have some friends there personally wanted to be an all-purple Super Bowl, Vikings, Ravens. Well, that's not happening. And the run for Sam Darnold is over for a lot of people. And hell of a year. Just 15 days ago, it's that picture in the clubhouse of him being crowd surfed by his own teammates. And I got to do a history lesson on this, or a fact. The Vikings only lost to 2 teams during this season, the Lions and the Rams, which even is more freaky, is that they've only lost 4 games, and they both were 2-game losing streaks at that time. Earlier in the year, the Vikings were undefeated and lost to the Lions and then the Rams on back-to-back weeks. Flash forward to the final week of the regular season. What happens? Vikings lose to the Lions. They have to play the Rams the next week, and the Rams end their season. That has to be a first, by the way. Has to be a first. And I saw some of the reactions, and Dan Orlovsky was saying, which I agree, it was not just a Sam Darnold issue yesterday. The Vikings were just outplayed, outcoached, and on top of it, their quarterback didn't play well. So it does look like J.J. McCarthy. If you were to say how things can change like that in the NFL, looks like things change just like that for Sam Darnold in big moments. So, new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. So why don't we get back into kind of this conversation? And I'm seeing conversations about this Ravens team being a team of destiny, so to speak. Well, the Ravens aren't the only one that think that they're a team of destiny, that this is a different feel in the locker room, a different feel around, the city, right? And both Buffalo and Baltimore have had some heartbreaking losses over the year. I mean, as we know, the Ravens-Chiefs AFC Championship game was very disheartening, very disappointing for so many people because it felt like that the Ravens were the better team, but they weren't that day. They didn't execute. Buffalo played that Kansas City Chiefs team last year in the round before, and they lost in heartbreaking fashion, or they got stalled a few times in the red zone, and then also had a chance to tie the game at the end of the game, and they missed a field goal, and that's how their season ended. But let's listen to a Bills player right here to get a little bit more perspective. Deion Dawkins has been offensive lineman, has been with the Bills for quite some time now. Colin Cowherd asked him, what do you think about this Bills team right now? And I think you're going to hear a lot of resemblance to how people feel about their Baltimore Ravens. So let me play that clip for you guys.
You've ever felt about your team at this point in the season?
Yes, this is the best that the team has felt. This is the best that I've seen Josh. This is the best that I've seen McDermott. This is the best that I've seen my coordinator. And with having a quarterback with his head calm and his head on, just calm, cool, and collect all day, every day, that takes a big toll on the team. He comes into work every day positive. Everybody is just in a positive streak. I would call it, controlled excitement, controlled or consistent execution. Like everybody is just at a consistent pace. And this is definitely the best that I've seen, the best that I've felt. This is the best that I've seen this Buffalo Bills football team be, prepare, and honestly ring that bell when that bell is rang and when it's called for us to ring. It's been going in the right direction because everybody has been flying on a consistent altitude. And I'm happy for it. James is upbeat. Josh is upbeat. McDermott, the O-line, the D-line, everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. So, yes, this is the best Buffalo Bills team I have ever been a part of in my 8 seasons that I've been here.
So that kind of sounds similar, at least to how people feel in Baltimore. The Bills feel like going in that the narrative was, well, maybe it's going to be a little bit of a rebuild. And that wasn't the case. And I give a lot of credit to the organizational structure. Oh, you trade away Diggs. Oh, wait a minute. You got pieces in place. How's the offense going to look? Hey, by the way, great players, great leaders on your team. You got Josh Allen. You're going to figure some things out. And they have some good pieces around them. And then also helps that the AFC East was brutally uncompetitive for the most part. Tua being hurt doesn't help, but the rest of the division was not very good. But Buffalo, still, they took care of business, but then they went and beat some of the top teams. They have all the confidence in the world. And they also, and me, it's very similar with the Ravens, they believe that this team is just different and more special than in years past. They might not be the most talented they've been in the years past, but they feel like it's the most put together team that they've had. And also, they have 2 players that they rely on, Josh Allen and their run game, which I know a lot of Bills fans don't underestimate his value. I think sometimes in the national media it's underestimated. James Cook is a beast in the backfield. And the evolution of his game with Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir as just a constant security blanket for Josh. It's a good offense, and the defense has some really good playmakers. They got healthier, and now they're playing with a lot of confidence. But similar on the flip side for Baltimore, it seems similar, right? Like it feels similar. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, those are your 2 guys that you lean on to make the plays. Those are your leaders on that offensive side. Excuse me. Then for Baltimore's case, not that the defense necessarily got healthier, but they came together. And then over the last 6 weeks of the season, Baltimore's defense has been number 1 in almost every statistical category you can imagine. So you talk about teams feeling like they're teams of destiny. They both feel that way. I hate that one of them's got to lose. Like this feels like it could be an AFC championship game. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like one of those teams can go on to win the Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not discounting the Chiefs, by the way. We're not going to play that game. The Chiefs are the team to beat until they're not. 2-time defending champ. They're the number 1 seed. They just know how to win when you don't think they're going to win. It happens over and over and over again. But Buffalo and Baltimore are right there. So it's a really special feeling. Now, one thing we're going to have to see what happens up there in Buffalo is the elements. It's going to be cold up there. And hey, maybe your guy here is going to make his way up to Baltimore or up to Buffalo and see what's happening up there. I heard it's one of the best places to watch a game. Great fan base, passionate fan base, and they love their team up there, just like people love their team down in Baltimore. So I'm over the moon about the game, but the elements are kind of what's going to be talked about. It looks like it's going to be cold, and I mean we're talking about highs in the mid-20s, maybe, lows at night going down into the teens, and wind's going to be playing a factor. And so actually it's a good time to bring this conversation up here. John Harbaugh, they were previewing Hard Knocks, and I saw a familiar face on there too, Chris Berman, who got a chance to interview, I guess about a month or 2 ago. Chris Berman, I was at the Ravens practice facility, Now it's shown on Hard Knocks. So let's play that clip of the Ravens preparing for the elements in Buffalo and who was really the driving force to say, hey, we need to be out in these elements as much as possible.
Job offense. It's throwing good, man.
Yeah.
It's throwing good in the cold. It's throwing good in the wind.
Yeah.
I see why I wanted to be out here. There he is.
Guys look good today?
Yeah, good day. Good day.
Pretty good in the cold. I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't like it, but
He's throwing really good in the cold. I mean, he got the other way of the wind at his back, and I think it was kind of an adjustment because the one carried a little bit, but he's thrown 2 days really well out here in the wind. He has. You know what? You got to get used to it. And
you're going to play all the rest of the games.
I said, guys, shouldn't we come out here one of these days, one of these practice days, and get the timing and everything? He goes, yeah. Lamar's like, no. He goes, I got to throw it. They got to catch it. The wind's going to blow it. It's going to move it. Like right here. Yeah. He goes, I need to get used to that. They need to get used to that. That was Lamar, man. There was like nobody wanted to go inside. Not one of the leaders.
I mean, I tell you what. There's something going on here.
Yeah.
This is.
We just got to go win a game. It's as simple as that. You got to go win a game. Then you got to win a game. Then you got to win a game. Then you got to win a game.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
It's funny how that works.
It's just how that works.
So right there, you got to go win a game. You got to go win a game and win a game, right? That's the reality. But what I loved about that is, and you could see the wind here, even just practicing, it's going to be cold. And Buffalo it's a different level of cold up there at times. But I love the fact that you're hearing the leaders and Lamar Jackson being one of them. Like, no, screw it, man. I don't want to prepare in elements that I'm not going to be in. I want to be where the wind is going to be howling. I want to be where it's cold because players are creatures of habit. I will say it is easier to be able to practice more of what you can kind of what you're going to see in a game. And in those cases, you can never emulate what's going to happen in an NFL game or any other sport. Like for baseball, you can never truly do practice something that's going to get you ready 100% for the game, but you can do things that can put you right on track for it. No doubt about it. There's been evolutions in the game of baseball for it, but for football, you can't teach, if you're playing in 70-degree weather, like talk about the Dolphins and that stat where the Dolphins, when the game's under 35 degrees, I don't know what their record is currently again, but they had a streak of losing 10s, 12-ish games in a row or whatever it was. It was a drought when the weather got colder. You can't, there's certain things in the elements that you got to prepare for. And then also, when you're on the road, it's hard to play in loud environments. It's hard to play in environments where the weather can be so unpredictable. So I think that that's something for Baltimore, but they got the right mindset with it. And at the end of the day, for Baltimore, more than likely, unless Houston has an upset in Kansas City, you're going to be going to another place where it's extremely hard to play in January and extremely hard, not just from the sense that the team that you're playing and the atmosphere, then you're also going to have to deal with, all right, this is going to be another cold place. There's no going down south for this. Ironically, though, right, the Super Bowls are all in warmer climates, besides that 1 year in New York where they're like, hey, let's play outside. And that was just an absolute blowout. But this year being down in New Orleans, in a dome, but until you get back to that point, you got to get ready for everything that can happen. And look at all the playoff moments in the past. I mean, still think back to that Niners-Packers game a few years back at Lambeau. And the 49ers went in there and found a way to win. Ugly game. But they were ready for the elements, and they played that style. This feels like it's going to be the team that can run the ball the best and the team that can control the clock and the team that can have the least amount of mistakes. And I know that sounds very simple, but that really is the case. Run the ball, control the clock, be smart with the football. You do those three things, you usually win a lot of games. But in this case, I think we saw a lot of what playoff football is. And what I mean by that, and actually let's dive into this a little bit more from this wild card weekend here. So as we take a ride to the whole wild card weekend, looking down at the stats here, why don't we take a ride on our Adams Jeep of Maryland? And Adams Jeep of Maryland been our OG sponsor from the get-go here for the Ryan Ripken Show. and cannot thank them enough for all that they have done. Let me see if I can get the read up here in time. Always is the delay. Not having Zach to count me down here, it's hard, but I'm going to say it's going to pop up here in 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1, 1. But Adams Jeep of Maryland, 5 minutes from Aberdeen, or 5 minutes from the Ironbird Stadium up in Aberdeen. And go up there if you're in the market for a new or used car. Go check out our friends up there at Adams Jeep of Maryland, or check out adamsjeepofmaryland.com. They have all these different options on the website. So go up there, check it out. And on the website, check out your price. What's your price range? What are you looking for? It's the easiest tool. It's almost like if you're sometimes I have a habit of this. You go on Zillow or something and you look at, hey, what's available? What's the price range? You know, that's exactly what you can do looking for a new car or a used car. And if you use the phrase Rocco sucks, you tell Chuck and Matt that, and you love the Ryan Ripken Show, they will give you a gas card up to $1,000 with purchase of a used or new vehicle. So appreciate everyone up there at Adams Jeep of Maryland, and tell them the Ryan Ripken Show says hello. So stats from this previous wild card weekend, because I think this is important, and you're seeing about how teams want to do their business. You know, the only game up until last night was won for the team that won was the one that ran the ball the best. It's no secret. But it even happened last night. Rams, Vikings, Kyron Williams, 16 carries, 76 yards. Aaron Jones, 13 carries, 48 yards. Now they were falling behind, so that does play a part in this. But okay, there's that. But the other ones, there was drastic differences in games. The Chargers-Texans game, J.K. Dobbins was the leading rusher for the Chargers. He had 26 rushing yards. Joe Mixon had 106 for the Texans. You're able to stabilize things. The Ravens and Steelers, Derrick Henry ran for 186 yards, shirts and pants. That's still unbelievable. Najee Harris ran for 17. That was the leading rusher for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Keep going down the list. James Cook ran for 120 yards for the Buffalo Bills in that game, and Josh Allen chipped in with another 46. Bo Nix was the leading rusher. The quarterback was the leading rusher with 43 yards for the Broncos. And yes, the Packers did try to establish the run a little bit, and Josh Jacobs, who's a beast, he's one of my favorite players to watch, he had 81 yards on the ground. But on the other side, Saquon Barkley, 119 yards. Jalen Hurts, 36 yards. Kenneth Gainwell added another 14. You combine that all together, that is them almost pushing 170 rushing yards. So, yeah, that's the reality of how things go for the playoffs. You want to try to establish the run game. You want to try to be more careful. Not that you don't want to take risks. You don't want to be timid. But we've seen when you try to go away from what your identity can be. And at least for Baltimore, we saw that last year. When they run the football and they run it effectively, not many teams are going to beat them. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this next game kind of lines up. And Baltimore has been one of the best run-stopping units all season long. And no bones about it, I am aware that, you know, Buffalo didn't have their defense that they had earlier in the season that they have now. Things have changed, no doubt about it. But this is where that kind of chess match is going to be. Buffalo knows what Baltimore is going to want to do, and the Ravens know that Buffalo is a better team when they run the football. That is just the nature of the beast. When you look at the numbers of how things have gone, Josh Allen can play Superman, but when they're able to run the football and establish that, they're a much harder team to beat because they are more unpredictable. So this is where this chess match is going to be. Two teams with way different outlooks and way different feels of their roster than it was early in the season. The only thing I'd say that was maybe similar was that Derrick Henry, at least that was kind of Derrick Henry announced himself as being like a full Baltimore Raven. I mean, they had the game against the Cowboys the week prior, but that one was, okay, Derrick is still Derrick from the get-go, that huge run to open up the scoring for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not going to expect those types of runs, but I do expect Derrick Henry to get fed early and often and be able to have some big plays. Now, one thing that I think that people want to kind kind of look at that's going to be very fascinating of the matchup as well. And not saying that wide receivers aren't going to have their plays and moments. They will. But what's the status going to be for Zay Flowers? That's going to be the continued one and conversation, because we know on the Bills side, and I would say this is still even a skill, and I think that they do have some good skill players over there. They spread the ball out a lot, and I think Baltimore does a very, very good job of that overall. But it helps when you still have your number one option. There's a clear number one option for Baltimore in the wide receiver game. It's Zay Flowers. And Zay missed last week. There's still some skepticism around him playing this week. You hope he does. But it reminds me of the conversation I had with Dr. Yoni Rosenblatt, friend of the show, friend of the program, works and owns True Sports Physical Therapy and works with a lot of the high-end athletes as well as any age athlete for the most part. So, but Yoni and I were talking about this last week before this Ravens-Steelers game. So let's just play this other clip about the severity of how things are and what it could mean. So let me play that clip that Yoni and I discussed, and we'll react on the other side. I think I have it here. Oh, there it is. That's what I thought. Here you go.
You can see his instep come towards the camera and his knee move away from the camera. The ligament that holds the lateral side of the knee or the outside of the knee together is your LCL. That's why I think most likely this is an LCL sprain. Then it's a matter of how major of a sprain is it? Is it a grade 1, 2, or 3?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then for you to remind people out there, and for someone that had a grade 3 ankle sprain, when you hear sprain still grade 3, it's misleading. Yoni, can you run through the 1 through 3 again for people out there of the severities?
Yeah, absolutely. So grade 1 is the least severe in this scenario, and there you're looking at 2 to 4 weeks for him to get back and playing nicely and comfortably. Now, that's with your standard level athlete when you're not staring down the barrel of a playoff game. Once the fact that the playoff game is coming a week later, could Zay rehabilitate this thing, get on the proper medication to make him ready? Yeah, it's absolutely possible, within the realm of possibility, if it's a grade 1. If it's a grade 2, you're looking at 6 to 12 weeks to get back. And then grade 3, it's basically torn, and then you're considering surgical versus months of rehab. So, like I said, if I had to put money on it, it's a grade 1 LCL. There's no MRI report to go off of. The Ravens aren't really talking about it. Van Noy's telling me he's tough as nails. That's great. But we really have no clear-cut diagnosis. If I had to diagnose it based on that film, it's a grade 1 LCL, and you might see him Saturday night, but you'll definitely see him next week.
Well, that's good. So we're hoping, right? So in that case, just so people understand, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 sprains, they all have different severities, and also a grade 3 sprain is a tear in the ligament. And knowing from experience, when I was playing baseball, I tore my ligament in the minors with the Nationals. Grade 3 sprain, but it was a tear of my ATFL ligament on my outside of my ankle, and it eventually required surgery for me. Now, obviously, that's not the severity for Zay Flowers, but the other components that can factor in. Is it a grade 1 where it can be 1 to 2, maybe 3 weeks? But also the other factor in that people aren't talking about, is there any kind of bone bruise within the knee? And if you have a bone bruise within the knee, yes, it's a pain tolerance thing, but then also, are you able to then cut properly? Last week, we were saying, or Yoni was implying, that Zay might have only been able to go 65, 70% max, and then his route tree was limited, right? So in this case, has that gotten better enough where he can make that impact, or is he going to be a decoy? We'll have to find out, but I do know this, is that Zay will do everything he can to get on the field. He's a competitor, no doubt about it, but there's certain limitations, especially with football and what he's going to be asked to do, where it's going to be a challenge. And for both these teams, like I said, they both want to establish the run, and they're going to have somebody make a play in the passing game. For the Ravens, Mark Andrews, we saw Isaiah Likely, both of them make plays, and then big play bait. Rashad Bateman, touchdown early in the game. They made it count when they needed to throw. On the flip side, for Buffalo, they got a whole bunch of options, but like the emergence of a guy, obviously like Khalil Shakir, who they have, who I think such a great security blanket for Josh Allen, but also seeing the stat that he's second in yards after the catch, only behind Jamar Chase. You know, he does a lot of good things when he gets the ball in his hands. But then another guy like Ty Johnson has emerged as this back out of the backfield that can just make some tremendous plays in the passing game. He had that hell of a play on 4th and 1 against the Broncos where he goes down, scoops it up off the ground. Now, people are going to argue in Baltimore, wait a minute, what's considered out of bounds and what's not? And everyone thinks back to that Ravens-Chiefs game in week 1 with Isaiah Likely's toe, which, hey, that's the right call. It's beside the point. Ty Johnson, he's another weapon out there. You know, Keon Coleman's a guy, young receiver, dealt with injuries earlier, can make some plays. Then you have the tight end group for them that has made plays over and over again. Kincaid and even Knox, just because Kincaid came on the scene, it's a good group, solid group, but they have a lot of different options that they can spread the ball around to. And can they make the moments happen? Matt Collins, another guy who I love watching his videos on Instagram, by the way, of like the little day-to-day habits or lessons you can learn, you know, that around the household. I'm like, damn, you know, Mac, I needed to find this a long time ago, in all seriousness. So I just can't wait. It's going to be a fantastic game. And a reminder, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this every Monday and Thursday, normally from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. We do our shows Wednesday for our MLB Hot Stove Happy Hour, 6 to 7. And then we do pregame shows on game days when the Ravens play. We're Baltimore, Maryland based, but as we move forward, we're going to be covering a whole lot of baseball. But we do love our football here in the Baltimore region. And if you are in the Baltimore region tonight, well, guys, I got to see you over at the All for the Ravens Flock playoff rally at the Columbia Mall in Maryland. And look, get your tail feathers to the mall in Columbia. We're calling all Ravens fans tonight, January 14th at 5 p.m. sharp. So now it's in 3.5 hours. Enjoy live music, guest appearances, one being from Torrey Smith, giveaways, and fun for the whole family alongside your host. Yours truly will be there hosting the event. Get all the details. If you want more, go on to Instagram and type in MTB_Ravens for more information. And it's brought to you by our friends over at M&T Bank, the official bank of your Baltimore Ravens, and giveaways while supplies last. Member FDIC. So when I move, you move just like that. I cannot wait. Yeah, I'll have to get you guys. Apparently, Ravens keep winning, guys. I think I might be able to give away more of these flags. They're phenomenal. And if I make my way to Buffalo, I might have to bring one up there. Hashtag All for the Flock, Laura. That's what it's all about right there. It is great. It is great. It is great. To kind of touch one more thing on, don't you love that? You know, maybe this is a good little reminder of be careful out there when it comes to people involved with scams. Just got a scam alert on my phone right now. Hey, you got to pay this certain bill. If you don't recognize the number and it says for you to click a link, just do yourself a favor. Don't do it. Just don't do it. But to Jabo, yes, we could work on these things. Like I said, we're limited on our options right now, but maybe things change if Baltimore keeps on rocking and rolling. You know what I mean? But continue on with this and touch a little bit more on some of the other matchups, or finishing up with this Ravens game. There was another clip that we played briefly yesterday, but Dan Orlovsky was talking with Stephen A. Smith after the Broncos-Bills game on Monday morning, and they were talking on First Take about, you know, if the Bills play that style of football, do the Ravens have a chance? And it was an interesting back and forth. So why don't we play that clip and we'll react on the other side.
That the Bills are going to have a 41-18 time of possession advantage? Do you think that they're going to beat the Ravens if they're in the red zone 5 times and only come up with one score? Do you think that's going to happen? Is that going to be good enough to beat the Baltimore Ravens?
If the Bills
That's
play,
not going to be it.
if the Bills played this coming weekend, first of all, I was way more impressed with what the Bills did and what the Ravens did because the Steelers were just so bad. If they play this weekend against the Ravens like they did yesterday, Buffalo wins that game. Absolutely.
Oh, Lord.
They were
They're not winning that game.
So that's where it gets a little bit interesting for me. And first off, I know people go back and forth. I love Dan and I love his analysis, even though I know sometimes I know he really loves what Buffalo's doing. And he should love what Buffalo's doing. It's a hell of a team. But with Stephen A in this case, like I agree. I don't expect the Bills to dominate possession like they did. In that game, Broncos scored out the get-go, right? It was that long touchdown pass. You're going, damn, this could be a game. But then it was like watching paint dry for this Broncos offense. They had to work for every single yard. And on the Bills side, it just looked like it was chunk plays. They had things going. They were a well-oiled machine. Now, Buffalo could do that against Baltimore. Just have a hard time seeing that discrepancy. And keep in mind, Denver had a fantastic year. But when they had to play some of these higher-end teams, minus playing a divisional rival in the Chiefs, where they won the last one, but lost in that heartbreaker Kansas City, they had more trouble with some of those playoff teams. And look, they got swept by the LA Chargers in their own division. They got blown out by Baltimore in Baltimore. So I don't want to say it's less impressive what the Ravens accomplished because of the divisional component. Pittsburgh had owned that series against Baltimore over the last 10 games. Then Baltimore wins that game in the end of the regular season against Pittsburgh. And then they left zero doubt in a home playoff game where, yes, I thought it was the most surprising Steelers team I had seen on that day on the field, meaning just you could just feel that they had the life just drained out of them. And also, how do you not feel that way when you're down 14, 21 nothing at the half, but I think that was just as impressive for Baltimore because, hey, they beat who they were supposed to beat, but Pittsburgh had been a team that over the years in the division had given Baltimore trouble. So, hey, I think that the Bills in this Ravens game is going to line up as a true coin flip. And I mean, everything around there just shows you coin flip. Quarterbacks, both are excellent. I think that Lamar should be the MVP this year. Josh Allen is very well an MVP player. He is, no doubt about it. But look at that coin flip. Lamar could be better on Sunday, or Josh Allen could be better on Sunday. Their offensive lines have continued to play well. The Ravens has continued to get better. We've mentioned yesterday on the show how Rosengarten's evolution as he's continued to grow. And this was an issue earlier on in the season when people are going, oh, man, this Ravens offensive line is going to be a problem. They evolved and they got better. The Bills offensive line's done a great job. And the quarterbacks then facilitating with your talent. That's why I hate for the Bills players when people talk about them like they got scrubs on their team. Like they don't have scrubs on their team. I know they don't have the Stephon Diggs type wide receiver, like a guy that's a true alpha number one. It doesn't mean that they don't have some really good players. And ever since Joe Brady took over as offensive coordinator there, they're running the ball better. They are opening up more opportunities. And then the evolution of Josh Allen, like Lamar Jackson, you're making smarter decisions with your God-given talent that you have. So it's they're very, very similar. Now, the one thing that's going to be interesting, I do think red zone defense is going to be very intriguing to watch here for both teams. As in these games, that was one thing that the Bills did struggle with, but they were moving the ball at will. I think the team for Baltimore and Buffalo, whoever can punch it in the end zone when they get their chances, and the one that doesn't, that could come back to haunt them. So I think that it's a very, very interesting. It's just an awesome matchup, man. Excuse me. I've seen people go out about it, and you guys know me here listening in. I got all love for Buffalo, man. Like I respect and love good football, and Buffalo's got some good players, man. They got some really good players. The biggest thing, at least for the Ravens defense, and I saw you say this, Jabo, that's what I mentioned about Secure earlier, and Cook's a fantastic back. Ravens D will need to be on point. Yeah, both these defenses are going to have to be on point. You can't allow opportunities over and over again. And the biggest thing, at least on the Ravens side, they've cut down on the penalties. That's been a huge, huge lift of not giving teams second chances. Although there's a penalty, knocks out a good stop, and it keeps the drive going. They've done a great job of that. But on the other side for Buffalo, are you going to be able to contain Derrick Henry? Are you going to be able to force Lamar Jackson into uncomfortable situations? And for the Ravens side, the last thing I'll say with the defense, it is very hard to bring Josh Allen down. Doesn't get sacked very often. So the bigger thing for him is not allowing him to escape outside the pocket, but also try to rush him into a decision. If he's trying to go down and trying to avoid, that's the one time when Josh can get in trouble is occasionally. This was the older Josh Allen, not as much new, but he'll try to make a play out of something because he feels like he can extend. He's like, to me, like Ben Roethlisberger in his prime, where you hit him and he keeps moving. He can make an unbelievable play. Like that's Josh as well, except Josh is faster. I argue he's even stronger. That's the scary part with Josh Allen when you're looking at it. But the comparison of the play's still alive until he gets brought down, that's what's going to have to happen here. And hey, Spirit Bomb, I didn't see exactly the officiating crew, but the reality is discipline is a key. Discipline is a key of almost everything. In everything that you do, are you executing in situational football? Same thing with baseball. Like any sport you're looking at it. Do you execute in the situational moments? So like third downs, getting off the field. Early in downs, are you putting yourself behind the sticks? And then are you allowing penalties to extend drives? If that happens, it's going to be a long day for either team if they do that. So it's a very, very interesting kind of situation here. So it is one of the probably to me it's the premier matchup. Being biased, it is the premier matchup. What's interesting on the other side in this divisional round, correct me if I'm wrong, just haven't heard much on that side. And I know a lot of people are giving the Texans zero chance. I don't think that that's fair. I never want to say a team you don't have a shot. And look, I don't know if you guys saw some of the other videos when the Texans were playing the Chargers. Everyone was saying they were having a bye week, right? Having a bye week going into play the Texans for the Chargers. Texans players heard that. The Rams were just talking about they were looking at film, but not necessarily the film of the game. It was the comment right after where Dan Campbell said, "Hey, we'll see you in 2 weeks." Like this feeling that, and I know Dan Campbell, he didn't mean it in any ill will or anything. He has a lot of respect for the Vikings and who they just played, but teams get motivated by those little things. And I think that Houston's going to give a better effort than people are expecting. I think that Kansas City's going to win this game. They looked like they were putting things together, and they're just such a really good team. They know how to win. And that is one part of the piece of the puzzle of all this. So that's something that I want to kind of look at. We'll, no bones about it. I mean, the penalties, I think every Ravens fan can definitely tell you. Sorry, I thought I heard Ollie, my pup, around. The penalties, here's the example. If you watch games earlier on when they lost, the penalties were a lot. And I know some people can say, well, wait a minute, like that's a terrible call. How can the ref call it? Well, you just got to try to find yourself being a better position, and it wasn't that it was just one penalty, right? Or two penalties where you go, what the heck? They're holding it against us. No, it was, I said 9 penalties. That's a lot. That's a lot. Shirts and pants, man. It's not like 3 or 4. That's more than just, I just missed one here and there, So bulletin board material. And look, I could tell you of every level that I've played at, Steve, in my baseball career and any other sport. Basketball is another big one of mine. People hear what's going on around. Like, I'll give an example. This is one of a personal one. When I was a younger kid, I was in high school, and again, I hold no one against this, but so we were in high school. I think it was my junior senior year, and I made an error in a game. It was a non-conference game against one of our conference opponents as part of this President's Cup in Baltimore, and I made an error. Ball went right through my legs, and someone from our conference school, rival school, apparently made a meme of me of missing the ball, and that said a headline, "My dad's a Hall of Famer, I'm not." And I didn't see it because I stayed off social media for a long time as a kid. And I was at school one day, and my teammates were saying, "Did you see that? Like, did you see that type of crap that that someone posted of you?" I go, "No. What's up?" And then they showed it to me, and I sat there, and I'm like, "Okay." I said, I'm going to be fighting this for the longest time, but I knew we were playing them upcoming. I'm like, okay, we'll just see how the game goes. But for me, like the team was motivated because they're pissed off for me. I ended up having a very good game that game. We ended up smoking them, and the kid afterwards came up and apologized to me and said, like, "Hey, I'm really sorry." And again, I hold nothing against it. And in my mind, I'm like, "Hey, thanks for doing that," because not that players need to be motivated for anything else, but there is another factor that you can set into a player, and you don't want to always poke that bear. So it's a real thing all across the board. Now uh, in Major League Baseball, obviously, if a pitcher's going out there to shove it, and they're on, like, that can control a game. But in general, when someone gets told about their team, there's just this different element. It's almost like a different level of focus can come in. You've heard some of the greats talk about it. Tom Brady is one of the ones that talked about it too, of he would try to come up with reasons why he would be pissed off and frustrated with the other team. Now, that's kind of like a next level type of situation, but that's how he viewed it. So players have different ways to get motivated. In some cases, though, one thing can change it. And the last thing I'll say is think about all the momentum plays that happen in sports. That's another motivator. For Ravens fans, you can think of a couple, and it involves Darius Washington. Darius Washington drilling Russell Wilson at the goal line, that was a momentum play. Changed the whole feel of that game. Christmas game, Darius makes another play at the goal line. And then on top of that, it galvanizes one team and it rallies a team, and on the other side, it deflates the other. And then you're sitting there going, well, shit, how do we stop this? How do we stop this? And I think that's the part where sports, that's part of things in analytics you can't really explain. That's just a part of the game. So I think both teams, in this case for the Ravens and Bills, they're being very careful about what they say because they know they got to go out there and they got to, if they talk the talk, they got to walk the walk. And I think they're both being very, very careful with that. It was, I'm really, really excited about it. But yes, no, Brooks, it wasn't Calvert Hall. I do have some stories there if you ever want some, especially after we won the championship. I can share with you a different day. But if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live, usually every Monday and Thursday, but it's special for playoff divisional round being set in. So wanted to make sure I had a special little stream here. We have our happy hour, hot stove tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about some of the baseball moves, what we got in store, and then Thursday back for our regular show, pregame show on Sunday for the Ravens, and hopefully it's another week of football in Baltimore here as the Ravens try to make another move to the Super Bowl. And also, as a reminder, tonight at the Columbia Mall, Stop Traffic, your guy is going to be hosting the All for the Flock Ravens playoff rally. So I'm calling all the Ravens fans out there, get your tail feathers to the mall in Columbia, Maryland, Tuesday, January 14th at 5 p.m. sharp. Enjoy live music, guest appearances, giveaways, and fun for the whole family alongside your host, yours truly, will be hosting this event. And if you want more details, type in MTB_Ravens on Instagram for more. And it's brought to you by M&T Bank, the official bank of your Baltimore Ravens. Giveaways while supplies last. Member FDIC. So, all for the flock, baby. I want to talk about, at least down the road here, since we got a little bit of time, I'll answer some questions, and maybe we can have a little, I'll see what the timing is for it. Got a couple things planned, but maybe we can have some more conversations, or if not for the call-ins today, definitely going to have the call-ins later on. But guys, right down the street, the Commanders had an unbelievable win on Sunday night. That was the game of the wild card weekend. A lot of blowouts. So, I think then the NFL playoff committee got it wrong, right? Because all the teams got blown out except one. It's also just the nature of the beast. It happens. But the Commanders, I still can't get over the turnaround that they've had. Unbelievable year, playing with house money, ownership, new coach, find a franchise quarterback, a team that now believes in what they're doing in the building, and now they're going to play the Lions, where they have nothing to lose, absolutely nothing. And they could go out there, they could shock the world, but if they lose, everyone's going to say what one hell of a run that they have had so far to get to this point. But let's actually hear, the main person that people want to talk about is Jaden Daniels. I mean, Dan Campbell talked about it in a press conference just on how dangerous Jaden Daniels is. So let's play that.
Obviously, has been a big part of their turnaround. Can you just talk about the challenge he presents at quarterback?
He is dangerous. He's dangerous. He poses a major threat. He does not play the position like a rookie quarterback. He's composed. He understands how to progress. He sees the field well. He can buy time with his legs. He's a dangerous runner. He's smart. He's smart. You can tell he understands how to run that offense, what they're asking him to do. And then he's got weapons. He's got weapons around him. I mean, his receiver's pretty dang good. 17's a hell of a player, He's got a good back. He's got more than one receiver. Ertz at tight end. I mean, they've got weapons. The O-line plays hard. But he's a difference maker.
Difference maker, man. That's what he is. Jaden Daniels, obviously the coaching staff and the culture has been changed, but none of that really comes to fruition if the guy that you draft for the most important position doesn't live up to a potential that I think no one, not saying that I thought Jaden Daniels, he was of the quarterbacks coming out, he was my favorite to watch. And I thought that he had the most upside coming out. But to expect that the Commanders were going to go from being one of the worst teams last year to now having the regular season that they've had and now being one of the final 8 teams, you couldn't have drawn it up any better if you're a Commanders fan. And you're seeing the other players gravitate around. And also, shout out Scary Terry, man. Terry McLaurin is talk about a guy that went through I can't even count all the quarterbacks he's caught a ball from and how many years he's endured. And for people to sometimes not, the football fans of the Commanders and even in the Maryland region, you understand how good Terry is. But he finally this year got to showcase just how damn good and special he is. Made big play after big play all year, had another big game. But the Commanders, just like they'd done a lot of the year, left you with some heart-stopping moments. And then the field goal, Zane Gonzalez smacks it off the pole, and they had the right 6 inches going left instead of it going right, and it's a missed kick, and you're going to overtime. So that has been it's been really cool to watch. But that's actually, to me, if I was going to say a second game of this wild card round or this divisional round, probably circling that Commanders-Lions game. Now, the Lions, that's a juggernaut of an offense. You're talking about imposing your will and their philosophy fitting. If you could say, like, what a team wants to be, and you tell me who their head coach is, what their offense does is exactly what Dan Campbell, resembles and preaches. We're going to punch you in the mouth with a two-headed monster in the backfield, even though Gibbs by himself is, holy shirts and pants, man. That dude's a beast. But they said, we're going to get We're going to be mean up front in the trenches. We're going to have these two running backs. And keep this in mind. They weren't, the Jared Goff, people weren't in the outside world, and they weren't sure if he was going to be the quarterback for the Lions. And they created a baseline. They built around that. And then they had some good draft picks on top of it. Jared Goff then built his confidence up. Ben Johnson helped unlock Jared Goff even more. And here you are. It's the most explosive offense in the NFL. They are so fun to watch. Lions are going to put up points in this game. Can the Commanders match it? We'll find out. But I think the Commanders can make this an interesting game. No doubt about that. I think that it will be a fun game from an offensive perspective, especially with how banged up the Lions had been. Now they're trying to get healthier. But I think unlike the Vikings getting blitzed all day by Aaron Glenn, who should be a head coach some point here in the future, same with Ben Johnson, Jaden Daniels is good as far as understanding. He's a versatile player. You saw it in the moments against that Eagles game when they came back. He will find a seam and he'll hit it in a moment that you don't think he can pick up a first or he can make it. He does it. He has that Lamar effect to him. I think that's the one thing I talked about yesterday when comparing Lamar and Jaden. It's not that I'm saying that they are the same players or they have the same style. No, that's not. I'm not going to go to that point because I don't think that that's fair. And Jaden Daniels is going to have to do it now for the next 6 years and maybe win 2 or 3 MVPs. But can Jaden Daniels get on that level of Lamar? Yeah, he's got all the potential to do it. But the one thing that I was referring to is that when you think you have him, so many runs that we've watched with Lamar where he looks like he's dead in the water and then he gets out of it. He is Houdini. Jaden Daniels has that type of feel. I don't know if you guys remember the 3rd and 1 play. It was kind of that bootleg out that ended up setting up the game-winning field goal in the wild card game. And Jaden Daniels, it looked like he was going to be stopped behind the line of scrimmage or maybe for a loss. And then all of a sudden, he gets around the corner and then picks up a few yards, and you're going, damn. Like, it's that special playmaking ability that he has. That's what Lamar has as well. When you think they're dead in the water, they're just not. So, yeah, that's the fun and special part of this, and I can't wait to see. And yeah, no doubt about it, Kingsbury, you need to line yourself up with somebody that can help you in your development. It matters. It matters having good coaches in your system for your development. And anything, by the way, this is not just football, baseball. I can tell you all about that, and no bones about it. Just realizing this guy's a Ripken, that's the last name for sure. But yes, there is the connection there, obviously. But growing up, and I see this a lot with younger athletes in general, and you can even see it at the higher levels, guys that end up getting to the next level, it's not because they don't lack talent. It's that they then lacked in the next thing to take the step. We're not even saying lack. They might not be able to put it together. Like I could speak on my own personal experiences and go, I couldn't get out of my head enough with dealing with certain stresses to be able to maybe reach what my potential could have been. I could hit a ball hard. I could hit velocity. But I found myself putting myself into tough positions, and then I couldn't figure out how to use all of my power to the way that I could, right? You look at the NFL and you hear people talk about, man, these guys have all the tools. They have all the tools, this raw skill, but then do they put it together? And part of that is unlocking it themselves. The other part is having someone be able to help them develop through that. And it's so important to their development. And that's why for quarterbacks, it means it's the most important position that you need to develop. Look at the evolution from Lamar Jackson from 2018 to 2019, that 1 year. All right, then it was 2019 going to like 2021. And then now look at Lamar from the beginning of his NFL career to now where he is in 2024, 2025 season. Say the same thing about Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen, in the beginning, people were wondering, was he going to be too turnover prone? Was he going to get the ball out quick enough? Was he going to be able to process? And no one's talking about that now. He developed into being one of the best quarterbacks in the game. So all those things matter. And Jaden Daniels, though, what makes him special is when the talent can then match with the development and you're able to allow yourself. And that's to me where the superstars are created. Your talent's so high, and then you're able to figure out the mental side and continue to evolve. That's what makes Jaden Daniels scary. And I think that that's what we're going to continue to see as you continue to move further and further. And but Eli, this is a great example of Anthony Richardson. Talented as all get out. Beast. Like physical skills that you cannot teach. But has his development been smooth sailing? Is it part on him? Yes. Is it part on the staff and the situation he's been in? Yes. Right. So it all goes hand in hand, but that's a perfect example right there. Perfect example of how things are. And hey, you know what? I agree with you on this, though, British Raven. The biggest thing Jaden Daniels needs to do is focus on not taking so many big hits. What makes Lamar special is he can do his thing and he doesn't take many, if any. It's true. It is true. Lamar has done a good job of getting down. I think Jaden's learning a little bit more, except he got smacked in that playoff game, man. But I'll tell you, I got to see him, went to a Wizards game and met him briefly. And he is, people look at him maybe thinking he's skinny, doesn't have a lot of muscle on him. No, he's stronger than you think, but he definitely is lean. That's the thing. He's lean, he's tall, but he's not he's not weak by any means. Not weak at all by any means. So I'm excited for his development. So that's one of those other games. Do you guys have other games that you guys are excited about? Because obviously you got the Rams Eagles coming up, Chiefs Texans, and then obviously the Lions and Commanders, Ravens Bills, down to the final 8. Also, by the way, for the AFC, the 4 teams from last year making the divisional round are all back in it, just switching the matchups. Kansas City's playing Houston instead. Baltimore's playing Buffalo. Last year, Kansas City went to Buffalo. Houston came to Baltimore, as people all remember. And Stackhouse, I was looking at that. How's the defender not flagged on that hit? I think because his foot was just coming down on the line. I think that's why it was kind of a bang-bang. It wasn't that his foot was a couple feet outside. It was right coming down the line. But needless to say, he got smacked. They were messing around right there. So that was something to see. He's so clutch and so unusual for a rookie. He runs a 2-minute drill like a 10-year veteran. I would think the one thing is I would love to talk to more quarterbacks about this, but I think it's for any high-level athlete is your ability to just not get phased when the moment gets brighter. And there's a phrase out there, you can't measure someone's heartbeat. When you're looking at all analytics and how things go, how do you handle yourself when the pressure intensifies? Joe Burrow is actually a guy like that where, I think he does a tremendous job of being calm, cool, and collected in almost any circumstances. You heard even Lamar talk about trying to tell himself to calm down a little bit more in playoff situations. Daniel's off the jump, and granted, you're a rookie, so you got nothing to lose, but he just doesn't seem, down here, we're going to win this game. That Eagles game where they turned the ball over a ton, I know that the Eagles had the quarterbacks knocked out, or Jalen Hurts and Kenny Pickett's banged up, but the fact that he kept coming back and developed and delivered that drive down the stretch just goes to show you, man, like that's special qualities. Special qualities. Hey, Rocco, is a playoff beard, by the way, buddy. It's a playoff beard. Might shaved for tonight. But Rocco, you can get your playoff beard going for Pittsburgh. Actually, I guess you don't have to anymore, right there, Pumpkin? And that's okay. You're a good kid. Good kid, Rocco. Thanks for showing your face after the loss. Actually, he did. He hopped on with us, and if you guys aren't following Nick Moore for the Ravens long snapper. You're not following Kevin and Zach Reacts. Nick Moore joined the Kevin Zach Reacts with the group of us talking about the Ravens game after the Steelers, and it was fun. It was a good time. It was a good time. And should I, you know what? But so I'm doing the event tonight, doing the rally in Columbia, Nick notes, and I'm wondering, do I just tell people I'm doing a playoff beard? But I realize I just don't look as put together, you know. I did something earlier today, did a podcast, and I'm sitting there going, damn, it's not my best look. But do you do it for the squad? Do you do it for the playoff push? I did that in baseball. Where I didn't shave for the first like 6 or 7 months of the season because I actually was hitting well. And then when things changed, I had to get rid of it. But, yeah, okay. So maybe I'll just slick back my hair and I'll say, hey, I got my playoff beard going. But I want to. I really want to. I really want to. We'll see. Game time decision for tonight. But again, we're going to be over. We're not going to be doing this anytime soon. What Kevin does on Kevin and Zach Reacts, one of our other shows, the Ryan Ripken Show, we are not attempting what Kevin does over there with all the antics. And for those that don't know, Kevin and Zach Reacts, part of the Ryan Ripken Media, and they react to every Ravens and post game for every Ravens game and for every Orioles game. But then they're also going to be on, they're obviously on the Ryan Ripken Show, but they will react to any other breaking news over there on Kevin and Zach React. So hit that like and subscribe button for them. If you want to be a part of this program here, hit that like and subscribe button. You see a lot of the green in the comment section here. It's a lot of our channel members. And we have just channel member streams. We're going to have more of those as we move forward. You guys are going to get more access to the work that we're doing behind the scenes and what we have planned, especially on the baseball season, which I'm really excited about what we have planned and what we have in store for a full season of baseball. But we still have football here, and we're Maryland based. We're hoping for the Ravens. I would love, honestly, a Ravens Commanders Super Bowl would be phenomenal for the area, and I hope we get to see some of that. But time's going to tell there. Time is going to tell. And as always, by G. Marcus, I got that earlier. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And honestly, guys, why don't we just take a look then real quickly at some of our odds for this divisional round as we'll talk about it more as we get closer. But in this divisional round where as we currently stand, if you're into the betting space, so let's take a quick trip up to our friends at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Feels naked without having, another harmony in there. But our friends up at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia, hour from Baltimore, or hour from Owens Mills, hour and 15 from Baltimore, about an hour and a half from the DC region. Look, they got all types of shows and events, but on January 31st, they're welcoming the ESPN Sportsbook into Hollywood Casino up there, and we plan to be up there and maybe have a chance to interview some great guests. So hope to see you up there. But we appreciate our friends at Hollywood Casino up in Charlestown Races in West Virginia. I'll change it up for the group. I'm not known for singing, but I am known for having a good time. The lines right now brought to you by ESPN Bet. Houston Texans are 8-point dogs at Kansas City, over and under set at 41.5. Commanders. This is interesting. The Commanders are 10-point dogs. 10-point dogs on the road this week. Over and under set at 55.5. The Rams and the Eagles, 6-point underdogs for the Rams going to Philly, over and under at 43.5. And the Ravens and the Bills. Ravens now are favored by 1 point, over and under set at 51.5 points. I'll tell you what, it's going to be really interesting. That line for the Commanders seems very high. I know that these playoff games, almost all of them, correct me if I'm wrong, Well, the two underdogs that were home dogs won in both the the Rams and the uh, Texans, and then the Commanders won as dogs on the road. But the other games, yeah, those teams covered pretty handsomely, pretty favorably. But 10 points is a lot, especially an indoor game. And I know the Lions. I think the Lions are unbelievable, but it's a lot of points at 55.5. So we're looking at a score has to be 30 to 28, 30 to 26. It's high up there. It is high up there right now. It is high up there. So let me know what you guys think about some of these spots and what you think is happening here in the space. And I got a little bit of time, maybe do we do a little Q&A talking about some things? And then for our future streams, we got a lot more. And then for our channel members, a lot more things planned when it comes to the football season and, for the rest of this football playoffs and what we're going to do. And I think Joey C, we did talk about this a little bit earlier. I think the Ravens have a way better indication. I think even if Zay plays, I think he's going to be very limited to what we're expecting Zay to be able to do. And when you're in cold weather as well, your body's not going to be able to move as much as you want. So I think that is something, that you're going to have to watch. I couldn't agree anymore. One of the best buds out there, Cody Carroll, should return to the MLB. Really good kid, really great teammate. Big fan of Creed too. And you know what? If that doesn't bring you back, I don't know what will. But the bad thing is Cody Carroll is a Titans fan. But it could be on the up and up. What? Maybe not. So. Hey, you know what, Rick? I'm kind of with you on that. This 10's high. 10 is very high. I love Detroit, but 10 points is a lot of points in a playoff game, especially with the Commanders that they never give in. They've been competitive in almost all these games. So this is interesting. All the rumors now, and also with Mike McCarthy being done now, where would Mike McCarthy go? And if the Raiders are in the market for a quarterback too, it's just throwing it out there of a thought. But Chicago for Mike McCarthy, I still think would make a lot of sense. They need stability over there in Chicago, and I think Mike McCarthy gets a terrible rep for a guy that's done a lot of winning in his career. Or you could say Ben Johnson, but we'll see. But Pete Carroll, I don't know. I like Pete a lot. I just would want to see what would be the fit? What's your goal moving forward? And I think with the Raiders is if you're trying to change a culture, you bring in a more experienced coach. If you're trying to then develop a quarterback, yeah, you could bring in a veteran coach, but you have to bring in the right guy. So I think right guy meaning offensive coordinator. That was Dan Quinn was a great leader of men. Kingsbury came in and helped Jaden Daniels, and it was a perfect storm. So I'm really curious about what could happen there. But Pete Carroll, man, I think he's just done a great job wherever he's been. Done a great job wherever he has been. Yep. Temp on Sunday night is supposed to be cold up there in Buffalo. Maybe yours truly will be making a trip up there. We'll find out soon enough. Soon enough. And I mean, Eli, I think it's understandable that he's always under a microscope and he's not going to be perfect. But I think what people do underestimate is what he's able to bring together for teams. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's hard to find a head coach where you feel like there's stability and you know that you can win games. And if you're the Bears, they haven't found that in years, decades of having a quarterback and a coach that they can rely on. It's the grass isn't always greener. It's the same thing we say about John Harbaugh in Baltimore. John has done a tremendous job. Is he perfect with everything? No. But does he give the Ravens contenders and having Lamar Jackson? Yes, absolutely. circumstances and who your quarterback is a huge part of what can drive the force there. And you have to have guys that can be a coach that can lead men. That just, they need to have the culture. Sean McVay, you watch his press conference or his in the locker room speeches, that dude can control a locker room. And a team that's only had like one first-round pick in the last 3 years, the Rams are doing a great job. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would. But the Bills are going to be ready for that task. But this is why if Derrick Henry gets 20 to 25 carries, I think Baltimore wins this game. Get to that number, the Ravens, the odds are in your favor because of that combo. It's hard to stop those two guys. And especially when you're up late or you're holding on to a lead, you can kind of impose your will on a team. That's what Baltimore did, obviously, last week. Oh, God. What we do with the number one pick? If you love the quarterback, and I mean, you know who you want, I feel like that's the option. I've been following Shador a lot. I like Shador. Cam Ward's intriguing. But I think regardless, whoever your quarterback, I would just go back to is, do you have the infrastructure that goes in? Like Tennessee has to figure out some things. Same thing with like the Giants. Like they're keeping their whole staff from last year, GM and head coach. But what's the culture going to be like? It's the same thing you're looking at with the Bears. They kept their staff and drafted Caleb, but the system and the culture and the offensive line was brutal too. But you could see his confidence was gone. He's running for his life. Like, you need to have things in place. So if you don't have things in place for a franchise quarterback, doing a disservice to the team. And in that case, I'd say take best available player. In that case, I know a lot of teams are interested with Travis Hunter, but for me, it would just be like your best available player if you don't have a quarterback or a place where your quarterback can actually develop. Now, obviously, teams are still going to draft a quarterback when they think they have a plan in place. But that's just my concern from the outside. Just, are they going to go to a good spot where they can continue to work? Mike Tomlin. So there's actually just put in our Discord chat. Brad just sent me a message saying, this is a quote from Tomlin. I have a feeling that a lot of things are going to change around here. So Tomlin's coming back. I think Mike Tomlin's done a phenomenal job. I think that, and Brad made a good point about this yesterday on the show, I don't think it's fair that all the blame gets put on Mike Tomlin. Now, he is the leader of the ship, right? They go as he goes. They have been contenders, but they have been contending for the playoffs, but they have not been contenders for the last decade. But also, if you look at the quarterback position, they haven't had a quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger retired. And even Ben's last years weren't the same Ben Roethlisberger that you saw when they were contending to be a Super Bowl team. They really got to make a decision on what they want to do with Justin Fields. If Justin Fields is going to be the guy, then you got to make a commitment now and ride that out. But philosophically, they're going to have to change things offensively. I think defense, they're going to end up being okay. It's just how the Steelers' MO always is. But truly, it's having that identity more on offense. They want to play bully ball, but they don't have the offensive line to do that. They don't have the pieces to do that. So if you don't have that, how do you evolve your offense? And that's what the Steelers are going to have to do moving forward. And if Justin Fields turns out to be a guy, I think the Steelers would be very, very different. They'd be a very different team. But the problem is that's why I give Mike Tomlin a grace of this. I think it's more on the Steelers organization. You got to bring in pieces then to help this team evolve. Because then you can sit there and go, okay, really, if is this all on Mike Tomlin for helping teams maybe overachieve expectations? Because each of the last 5-6 years, Steelers have been picked last in the division. They've been picked to do nothing. And yet over and over again, they're still finding a way to compete. So that shows you that something's working there, but they don't have the thing that gets them over the top. And that is a quarterback that they can believe can take them to the Super Bowl, or they don't have other factors there that can overcome some of their deficiencies. So, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, and it's a good point. Like consistently above an average in the NFL leads to mediocrity. I think we're Steelers fans, the organization, or it's the double-edged sword of this. Of would you rather Pittsburgh just been bad for a couple years and then they're able to then have those moments where you know that they can make a Super Bowl run, or do you just like the fact that you can be in it each year? You know, right now they're in it each year, but they're not the contending team. And for other teams, other organizations, like that's not good enough. But unless Mike Tomlin has all the say on who they're going to take and how they're going to address the quarterback situation, then it's just hard for me to fully say that, because since Ben Roethlisberger retired, they have not had a quarterback option. That's not just 1 year. That's not 2 years. This is years now for Pittsburgh. So we'll see. I think that they just need – I personally, if I was them and they're not going to go and get a quarterback or draft a quarterback, I would commit to the young guy with Justin Fields and see what you have with him. Let him play the whole next year, because his upside is tremendous. Don't know what that could be, but you've seen flashes of how much more electrifying a Pittsburgh offense could be if he was at the helm. So we'll see what happens. Again, new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. Do this live every Monday, Thursday. Today's an impromptu stream, so we get ready for the playoffs here. And it should be a great divisional round, as it's going to kick off on Saturday. But we'll be live on Wednesday for an MLB Hot Stove Happy Hour. We'll be live on Thursday again, and then we'll be live on Sunday prior to the Ravens-Bills game. So tell a friend to tell a friend. If you want to be a part of the channel, members, hit that subscribe button. And everything that you do when we have our studio, when I'm in studio at our place, everything goes back into the studio, and we need a new stool. Laura, and thank you for helping to donate to the stool collection. Brad broke the stool yesterday. It's a tough moment. End of an era for that stool in the studio. But in all seriousness, it goes right back into us continuing to make great content for you all. And we're really excited about all of that. So, yeah, that's all I got, guys. So I got to go get ready, because why? In about 2 hours and 50 minutes, you guys going to be over at the All for the Flock Ravens playoff rally at the Columbia Mall. So calling all Ravens fans, show your All for the Flock tonight, Tuesday, January 14th at 5 p.m. sharp. Get your tail feathers to the mall in Columbia, Maryland. Enjoy some live music, guest appearances, giveaways, and fun for the whole family. Alongside yours truly, your host, Ryan Ripken. How you doing? Get all the details. For more details, I should say, go to MTB_Ravens on Instagram so you can get all the information. And again, it's brought to you by our friends over at M&T Bank, the official bank of your Baltimore Ravens. Giveaways while supplies last. Member FDIC. So get there early so you don't miss out on any opportunities and chances. No, won't be a live stream from the event, but I can give you some content, Laura, if you would like. And right now, sadly, we have some of our guys dropping like flies. Zach is fighting a little sickness there. Brad was going through it the other day, so we're trying to hang on one by one. But I will be there tonight. I'm extremely ecstatic about it, and yeah, hope to see you guys all there. And apparently, me and Tori are going to have a little chat. Tori Smith, Ravens legend, and also part of that last Super Bowl run that the Ravens had in 2012. So, guys, appreciate it. I don't have the music on the way out of here, but as always, have a day, have a night, have a great stinking rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you guys hopefully tonight at Columbia Mall. If not, I'll see you guys back here tomorrow for our little MLB Hot Stove Happy Hour. Do.